In this video, we will look how to extract, transform, and load data related to World Development Indicators. So we will extract the data from the World Bank database. We will clean the data and transform it into the shape we want. And then we will load it to Excel pivot and then use it to answer certain questions. So when I come here to Google, I simply type World Development Indicators, so WDI, and it's going to take me here. So if you click here, it's going to open the World Development Indicators of the World Bank. Make sure you take that of the World Bank, databank worldbank.org. It will take you to this page or a similar page. If I do this, it takes me here. So you have something that looks like this. Now if you look on your right, make sure you click on the variables, and here you have 4 things that come up. You have database, country, series, and time. If you click here, you have a number of databases. If you are looking for something special, you can come here to this filter and just click there and choose whatever you want. However, for the purpose of what we are doing, we will leave it here. You have World Development Indicators. It has been chosen as the database we will use. You can see there are 84 databases available. We have chosen just one. If we click here, it will switch from this one to that. But I just want to leave it under World Development Indicators. And if you want to know what the database is, you can come here and click, and it's going to give you information concerning that. For example, it tells you World Development Indicators is the primary World Bank collection of blah, 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 blah. So you can read all what you want about it. So the first step is to choose your database. After, I'll reduce the size. I'll go to country. Now, what countries do you want to examine? Here, all the countries are here with aggregates. If you exclusively want the countries, you can click here, and it's going to give you the countries. If you only want the aggregates, you can click here and it will give you the aggregates. For example, the East Africa and East Asia and Pacific, Arab world, it's going to give you data for that. But I am interested in the countries, so I'm going to click there and I will choose a few countries. Basically, I'll choose 5 countries. I'll come here and type Canada. I hit enter and I have Canada. I can click, go back here. I can take United. I want United States and United Kingdom. So I will add those 2. I will come and I'll type France. And I can add Mexico. And of course, China. So there we go. You can see it's telling me I've chosen 6 countries. Okay. It's telling me I've chosen 6 countries. If you want, you don't need to type and go and proceed how I've proceeded. You can just come here and so if you want, you can scroll and choose the countries. If you scroll, you will see I have 5 countries which have been chosen here. Okay, I hope I did not inadvertently get rid of China. So if we go to C, we will see if we have it. Okay, I'll turn it on. So we have 6 countries. That's it for the countries. Now if we go to the series, so these are the indicators we are looking for. There are different ways of examining the indicators. If you know the name, you can just go, you can click whatever you want. So for example, CO2, if we click on C, it's going to give us everything related to C. But if you don't want to proceed using that approach, you can simply come here and you look. These are the economic policy and debt indicators, and if you scroll down, you can see the different ones for education, for environment, financial sector, health, and so on. Now, given that you are interested in indicators related to what we call Sustainable Development Indicators, you can simply type Atlas of Sustainable Development Goals 2020, and once you look for data topics from the World Bank, you can open it and it will take you here, so you can choose whatever sustainable development goal you are interested in, and then you come and choose, now we are here, you come and choose whatever indicator is related to that. So if you click here, it's going to give you the indicators related to what you are interested in. Another approach is to come here. For example, I'm interested in CO2. What is it? Total CO2. So I'll just type CO2. I'll hit enter. It gives me the CO2. However, I really want total greenhouse gas emission. I want that. And let's see. I also want methane emission. I'll go to methane emission. Let's scroll and see. Do I have CO2 by itself? CO2 emission. So I've chosen 3 indicators. I have CO2 emission, I have methane, and I also have greenhouse gas, total greenhouse gas. So it's going to give me the values for the countries I've chosen. So I'll leave it here. If you are interested in gender issues, you can just type gender, for example, hit enter, and it will give you things related to gender. That's really up to you if you want to go that way. But I'm done with that part. It's up to you. Choose whatever you want. In terms of the time, what's the time frame? What time frame am I interested in? If I click here, it's going to give me basically the last 20 years. If I want the last 25 years, it's going to give me the last 25 years. So let's leave it at the level of the last 25 years. And that's it. So I'll simply come here on my right and I'll click Apply Changes. Once I do that, I can have an overview of what it has given me. It has given me from 1996 to 2020. So generally, we may have missing data here because it has not been compiled. So if I click here, I see the countries I chose. Okay. We also had the option of choosing all the countries, but today we will leave it at the 6 countries. So all I have to do now is to come to the right where I see download options and click here and then choose Excel in order to download my data in an Excel format, or I could as well choose CSV. It's really up to you depending on what you are comfortable with. Now, by the way, I just want to let you know there are times when you can't see this because your screen is not large enough. It's important for you to reduce the zoom of yours. So if you maybe zoom into maybe 80%, in case you are not seeing this, then you are going to see that. Okay, I'll zoom out again. So in case your screen is small, it's possible that this is hidden somewhere there. So if you zoom in, you will see it. So I'll click here, go to Excel, and click to download the data, and that's it. It's downloading. That's fine. The next thing I have to do now is to go and load. I'll open Excel. So one thing you have to note is that we are going to be using Excel 365. That's freely available to all students. You can download it and use it freely. Now, if you use another version, it's possible that your Excel doesn't look exactly like mine, that what you see is slightly different. So I'll click here to open a new version of Excel. Now, this is how it looks like. I'm at the Home tab. What I will do is I will go to Data. Under Data, I make sure I go to Get and Transform Data. Okay, under Get and Transform Data, you can go to Get Data. Under Get Data, I will go to From File, and I will say From Workbook. Why? Because the data we downloaded is in a workbook style. If you downloaded it as a CSV, then you have to choose this. So I'm going to click there, and I will scroll to where my data is. My data is under Download. I'll go to Download, and this is what I downloaded. Okay, data extract from World Bank development indicators. I'll click to import it, and I will patiently wait for the data that was downloaded to come up. So if I click here, this is where we are. If I click here, it gives me metadata. So this is just an overview of the data that was downloaded. I really don't want this. I don't want to import it. I'll click here, and this is the data I want. It has Canada, it has all what we are interested in. I have it here with me. So the next thing I'm going to do is I will go under select multiple items and just check on this. Why did I show you this? Because there are cases where in case you wanted to select both of them, then you will check both of them. But we don't want this, so we will just select this. That's the only data we want. And I will come to my right under here and click transform data. Now it's going to take us to what we call Power Query Editor, and you can see the name here. It says Power Query Editor. So I have my data here. The first thing I'm going to do with this data is to first of all change the name. So I will put the name into sample World Development Indicators, WDI, and just hit enter. So I have just changed the name of the file we imported into that, and you can see it here. This is the name. Now I want to if you take a look, the data is in the format. We cannot do much with this format, so we are going to do some adjustments. Now the first thing is, if you look below, you have things we don't want. If you count how many rows this are, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we want to get rid of this because this is really not useful. So we want to delete 5 rows from the bottom. So what do? We will simply go to transform, go to the ribbon transform, and actually you don't need to go to transform. You can just stay under home and you come to remove rows. So we want to get rid of 5 rows. So under home, the home ribbon, you go to remove rows. I'll click here and it gives me the option to remove bottom rows. So I'm going to click there. The dialog box pops. I will say 5 because we want to get rid of 5 rows from the bottom. Okay, and the 5 rows are gone. Now the next thing I want to do, I want to get rid of the country code. I'll hold Control and select this. If you are using a Mac, Control is Command. So I'll click here and select those two. I'll hit delete on my keyboard, or you could have right-clicked and use remove. But that's it. If you take a look at your right, you can see it's recording every move we are making. For example, if you come under source and you click here, it shows the first step. Actually, if you go to this gearbox you have here on your right and you click on it, it shows you the first step you did. Okay, this is where your data came from, the file path. You browse, you set my Excel workbook is found here. I'll click cancel, and then the next step, if you click on the gearbox under navigate, you came here and you chose data. And if you go on here, it tells you when it started, it promoted headers because there were some issues, and so on and so forth. So here, every move, everything you do here, it records it here. There is no undo. So if you make a mistake, if you delete something, you simply come and change it here. For example, let me come back to the last thing I did. I removed columns. The remove columns, if it's a mistake, I could just click here to undo it. If I click here, you see the columns I removed, it's back. So I have to select it all over again. Country code, Control, I click, and then I hit delete on my keyboard. So now it has removed the columns. Now the next thing I want to do is I need to pivot this because I want the years to be all arranged in a column. Now, the outcome will show you what I mean by actually the word is on pivot. So I will select this, hold down Control, select that, and I have to on pivot this. So I'll just right click here, and I'll come here. It says on pivot other columns. So I'll click there. So it has unpivoted the other columns. Now you see your years are here. Okay. I'll double click here to change the name, and I'll call that year. Hit enter. That's it. So country name, years. I'm not doing anything here because I have to manipulate it again. Now if you take a look, here you have this nonsense here. In the square brackets, you have the year 1996. We want to get rid of it. In other words, we want to come to this column and keep the first 4 letters. The first 4 letters, we want to extract it and then get rid of the other ones. So if I go to transform, I have to search for where I can find extract. And if you go under text column, so you have to look for text column, you will find extract, and I will click there, and I will choose text before delimiter, or I will say first characters. So let's try first characters. So I want the first 4 characters. I'll click here, and it will count the first 4, and I'll say OK. Now you can see it has done it. You could have done it another way by saying text before delimiter, and the delimiter was a space. But that's okay. This worked. Now we have here, I will change this and put it into a date format. So if you look generally here, the format of the content of this column is given here at the top on your left. ABC, if you click there, you can see it is of type text, and of course the country name is text. Whatever you have here, you can see it's of type text. Here we want it to be of type date, so I'll come here, I'll click, and I'll choose date. So it is of type date now. This, you have all these ABC things, so it has ABC and 1, 2, 3. You can see this is whole number, so it's saying it can be whole number and it can also be text. So it doesn't clearly know because you have a lot of crazy stuff happening in here. So we have to clean this a bit. For example, here you have these 2 dots. We have to get rid of it, else we may have issues. So if you really want to see the content, you can come to this filter, click it. It may give you an overview of what you have in there. So here, this is what we have. We want to get rid of that. So we will replace this with null. Null simply means we really don't have any value. We don't know what is there. So just make sure you select that, and we will not go to extract this time. We want to replace. So you will go under any columns, any column. You'll go to replace values. I'll come here. I'll click on replace values. And I will say I want to replace those double points with null. I will OK, and you can see it has replaced it with null. Now, one thing you can do is you can just check what's going on with your columns. If you go to view, you can use column quality. If I click on column quality, here it tells me, for example, 100% valid, 100%, 100, here 92, 8%. So I have 8% empty cells. So empty because you have such empty things. If you scroll down, you'll find a number of them which are empty at this point. Now, if you take a look, you'll see it goes with 2019 and 2020. So it seems we are missing data for those years, 2019, 2020, 2019, 2020. So if that's the case, it may make sense to filter this out, because we don't need to keep this if consistently it doesn't have that data. But before we go to that extent, we want to do the last thing. I'll uncheck column quality. I'll leave it as it is. Now, the final major step is to pivot this. We want to have a column by total greenhouse gas, CO2, and so on. Because here it's not so helpful. We have total greenhouse gas for Canada, then we have methane for Canada, we have CO2, everything is mixed. We want each of them to be on their own columns. So what do? We have to go to transform. You go to the transform ribbon, and this time we are not on pivoting, but we are pivoting. You go to any column. Here we have pivot column. So just make sure you select this. This is the column we want to pivot. We want to pivot this, transform. Under any column, you choose pivot column. Click on pivot column. Now it wants to know what column, what are we going to use as a value column. This is what we want to use as a value column. So I just have to go in and choose value as a value column. Now, it may be interesting to go to advanced column and make sure it is not sum. We don't want it summing anything. We don't want it aggregating anything. We say don't aggregate. Just leave our data as it is. So now we will say OK. And once I say OK, you can take a look and see here we have total greenhouse gas, methane, CO2. So under Canada, now you can see we have Canada and we have things arranged in the right columns. So what I can do if I want, so the right thing to do actually is to adjust these names and give it much better names. Okay, so I'll double click and I'll just leave it as total greenhouse gas. I will delete all of that and I'll hit enter. I'll come here, I'll double click. I want it to be methane. I don't want all of these long names. The long names, just make it cumbersome, and I'll leave it at CO2. So now we are close to the end. What we can do is to just get rid of these empty things because it's no use. You can see it's recurrent. We don't have data. They seem not to have data for these 2 years. So what we can do is just to filter out wherever we have null. So if we come here, so you can choose any of them, it will still do the job. And you come and uncheck. So I've clicked here, okay? You just uncheck null and you say okay. You will find that the null is gone. And if you go to view, you click on column quality, you'll find everything is 100%. Everything is clean. It's awesome. If you got to that point, you did a great job. Now the final thing, we want to change the data type. If you come here and you take, so we can see the data we have is basically whole numbers. Yeah. So take whole numbers, come here, take whole numbers, and also do that. So that's awesome. Our data is ready to be loaded to Excel. So you will go to home. Under home, you'll go to close and load. Please don't click on top of here. It's going to load it immediately into Excel. Click on that button, take close and load to. And a dialog box should pop up. Now we want pivot table report. You click on pivot table report. Okay. And here we have a pivot table report. So we can do lots of things. So the first thing I want to do, I just want to take country name and put it where you have rows. Now, before I go on, I just want to let you know it's possible your screen doesn't look like mine. It's possible your screen looks, let me see, I think it's generally like that. No. Yeah, I think generally it looks like this, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so you simply have to go under choose field and add report. You have to come to this, you have to come here to the tools, click there and choose this. I like this, and because I have a bigger screen, I just like making it bigger. So what I do is I'll just take country, I'll click, hold it, pull it and drop it under rows. So where I have rows, I'm going to drop it there, and you have countries. Then I can take CO2, the CO2, and I will put it here. And methane, greenhouse, so I put it on the yes, you will not put it there. So we can leave it as it is for now. Okay, you can see this is the sum for the whole period of this. So if you have gotten to this point, that's a great job. You've done a great job. You can stop for now, and we will continue in the next video.